Hi, welcome to Financial Foundations with Benchmark Wealth Management. I'm Nancy Nouse, CEO, and my business partner, Elian Levatino, CFP, is also with me.
Is this the first one we've done together? I don't even remember. We don't get to
Maybe
do these together often.
We hardly ever see each other, actually. He's running one half, I'm running the other.
We're a little busy.
Yeah, we are.
But we're here for you today.
And we're thankful to be busy. Thankful. We've had a series of these. Number one was paying off debt, which, we're very high on. The second one was how to gather your emergency fund and make sure it's just an emergency fund. And then the third part was getting on a budget, or what I like to say, cash flow plan, because it sounds more, warm and fuzzy. Today we're going to be talking about retirement, and we're pretty excited about that as well. So we're just going to jump in. We've got 3 questions we're going to answer, but you know me and sort of him, we may go farther than that. So number one is, what should I consider as I envision my retirement? What a great question. I talk to people so many times who just say, at 65, I want to do X, or at whatever age, with not a vision. And it's more of a practical, I'm numbers and I want to do this and that sort of thing. And so we really encourage people to, if you want to be Oprah-like, get a vision board. What do you envision? What do you want? And we talk a lot about retirement, but we both believe in financial independence. We have a couple people on our team that are not working because they have to. They've stayed because they want to. So they're financially independent, but they're still working. So it's possible that your retirement should be something like that. So I would say, take the blinders off and start dreaming, and talk to your spouse, your partner, and let's get a vision. Look at other people that are retired and be like, no, can't play golf that much, or yes, I certainly can. And, just sort of start looking at it. What would you?
Well, I've heard you say it 100 times. You don't retire from something, you retire to something. And having a plan, having a purpose, being intentional with what comes next. I think I've said intentional about 1,000 times in the middle of Financial Foundations. And I'm going to keep saying it, because having a plan and being honest with yourself, I think is going to take you a long way, especially in retirement. Having that vision board, Nancy's actually turned me on to that. She does them a lot, and it was hard for me to envision a vision board, but I've done a couple over the years, and it's interesting to go back and look at them and see what life has turned out to look like after you've done them.
Well, my day is made. This is incredible. We should spend more time together.
I'm not as consistent as she is, but I'm working on it.
Well, but that's a great point. I think some of us are naturally vision focused, and I certainly am. He has not been in the past, but I think as it relates to your family, your children, what you want the future to be, it's helpful. Yeah.
Well, and Nancy said it. Like I tend to be a little bit more analytical with my retirement, and I'm looking at it in a number. Stop it. I'm looking at it in a numbers related way, but knowing that there is something past this, even after the numbers get worked out, it's really interesting to me when we sit down with clients and talk to them and say, okay, you've reached your goals, or you're on path to reach your goals, and it's very telling to me when they look at me and go, okay, now what? Mm-hmm. Like, what's the next goal? What do I need to be going for next? I'm like, you did it. You accomplished it. What's next is what you have on your table for your life. You've reached that financial independence. What do you want to do? And knowing what those goals are now, so that when you've reached that financial pinnacle, when you've reached that financial independence, that you can enjoy whatever that next vision is.
So let's go to question number 2, and you're the more analytical and better with numbers, I would say. How much money do I need at retirement?
Have y'all ever seen that commercial? There's a guy on one side of the hedge and his neighbors on the other side of the hedge, and the guy's over there clipping his hedges, and there's a number over his head, and it's like 1,347,243. They say, "What's your number?" And I hope I'm not doing any copyright infringement with this. We don't really look at it as the magic number, how much assets you have to retire. Instead, what we found over the years is what's more important is knowing what you're going to spend in retirement. And we can back into the number that you need in order to accomplish that goal. And what we've learned is that spending is not linear, meaning, when you retire, your spending doesn't do this. It doesn't do it now. And we're coming to you with this video in the middle of some pretty significant inflation going on in the economy. Some of you are seeing your expenses go up just simply because of inflation. Inflation is going to impact over a 20, 30, 40-year time period. It's going to impact what your expenses are. So we like to value expenses, but for inflation, because we know it's going to go up a little bit. But I think what you'll find in early retirement years is your expenses are going to go up pretty significantly, because you did have that vision. You're traveling more. You picked up your hobby. You were doing all the things you wanted to do, and find yourself spending a little bit more. And then maybe things slow down a little bit and your expenses level out, and maybe they come down because you're not traveling as much and not doing as many things. And then it kicks up again toward the end of life for medical expenses and that kind of thing. Planning out what your expenses are going to be, knowing what the things you want to do in retirement. Let's take all those numbers. And this is where a financial advisor comes in, and I think is very, very important when it comes to figuring out what those monthly expenses are, how to plan for them, and then building a plan around all that. Yes, I'm a geek and I'm going to be analytical with the numbers and try to help you figure all that out. But so is every other advisor here. That's really our bread and butter.
Yeah, and keep in mind, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're looking for an example of what your expenses might be, and it's hard to do because you can practice different professions, you can practice different sports, you can do all this stuff. You can never practice retirement. It's not possible. So that being said, there's some things that you can do to prepare for it. We have several books that we could recommend to you. If you're interested, email one of us and we'll give you those recommendations. Knowing what you're spending, I've said this a million times too, there are a lot of numbers that are important, what the GNP is and what the economy's doing, what the market's doing, and all that stuff. But the most important number in all of your financial planning is, what are you spending? And that was very hard for me to pin down because I'm not particularly, I'm having a good time. Why do I need a budget? Well, it's critical. And you have to know, we have no dog in the hunt. We don't care what you're spending.
Yeah.
We don't care what you do spend.
No, there's no judgment in it.
There's no judgment, exactly. But you need to know what you're going to spend, what you're spending now, or at least a very close idea. Okay, next question. All right, once I know that number, how much should I be saving for retirement?
We're big Dave Ramsey people when we work the baby steps, and part of the baby steps when you get to baby step 4 is saving 15% into retirement. That's a big chunk to go from, if you've been working the baby steps, to go from 0 to 15. So we just want you to start somewhere. You have the average American doesn't save anything toward their retirement. Matter of fact, I believe the number I saw a couple of weeks ago was that 57% of Americans can't come up with $1,000 for an emergency. That's very sobering to me. If you're saving for retirement, just start somewhere. If you have a 401k, usually there's some kind of match inside there. At least get the match, start somewhere, and then work your way up to that 15%. If you can jump all in with a 15%, great, go for it. And then after that, you can decide, as a family, are we going to be an average accumulator of wealth? Or I have some friends that like to call it a prodigious accumulation of wealth. Are you a prodigious saver? Going all the way up from 15% to 25% or more. Hitting those goals, I think you'll find you'll reach financial independence a whole lot sooner rather than later. But there's nothing set in stone. I don't believe that everybody has to save 15% in order to achieve retirement. Definitely not 25%. But if you're starting earlier in life, obviously you can get that 15% and be just fine. But if you're starting a little later, you may decide you need to be a prodigious accumulator of wealth to get to that 25% number. But there's nothing set in stone. It would be good to sit down and talk to somebody and make sure whatever numbers that you're putting on paper on purpose, being intentional, is going to achieve that goal and help you mold everything around what your expenses are going to be when you retire.
And just to clarify, I agree with everything you said, but the 15% is your 15%, not the match. So if your employer, you put in 4, they put in 4, it's 15 for you, it's 4 for them. We really encourage that. And we probably work with, 25% of the folks that we're working with right now to save for retirement already max everything they can do in their employer retirement plans. And the second reason to do that, which is not part of this presentation, is to reduce your taxes. Make no mistake, we love America, but if we can pay less tax, we want to do that. So there are other vehicles you can use after your employer retirement that we can help you with as well to be the massive, that's a word I can say, the massive accumulator of wealth. We love doing these presentations. We just want to talk to you a little bit about retirement today, or as we like to say, financial independence. I'm Nancy Nouse, Ellie and Levatino. We're with Benchmark Financial, and this has been Financial Foundations. Thank you.
Thanks.